Hello everyone, welcome back to the next video. In this video I will show you how you can integrate Postgres database in your NextJS application with route handlers. Now at the very start I want to make it clear that I am not using Vercel Postgres. So that is a service which Vercel provides, and I think there are some I think they have deprecated it and now they are recommending to use the NeonDB plugin. We will be using NeonDB, but my tutorial is not restricted to NeonDB. You can use any Postgres database you want. The reason I'm not using that Vercel plugin is because, or Vercel Postgres, whatever you want to call it, because I am not going to deploy my app on Vercel. Even if you deploy your app on Vercel, it's not necessary that you have to use Vercel Postgres. So irrespective of where you deploy it, on Vercel or some other platform like AWS, I don't want to make any code changes. So that's why we will be creating a separate Postgres instance altogether. So I want to make that very clear at the start of the tutorial so that you guys are not disappointed. Like I said, I have just created a Next.js application. I'm using app router, and next we will be using NeonDB, but NeonDB, the reason I'm using it, again, not this is not a paid promotion as such. The reason I'm using it, so that I don't have to install PostgresDB locally on my PC, just to save some space. Also, for creating Postgres instance on NeonDB, I don't have to worry about paying credit card or debit card details. It doesn't ask any of those details. I can just create a instance in free tier, so that's what I will be doing. But feel free to use whatever Postgres instance you want. Like, you can create it locally, or maybe on AWS or on Google Cloud, whatever is comfortable for you. So first I'll just create one Postgres instance quickly. Yeah, just click on create project, click on confirm. Then we'll have to create a table, right, inside our Postgres database. Now to connect with our Postgres database, I will be using Sequelize, which is a third-party package to connect, like an ORM sort of thing, to connect to our database. Now you don't have to you don't have to use Sequelize. You can use Prisma or Type ORM, whatever you are comfortable with. I'm just comfortable with Sequelize, that's why I'm using that. So firstly, what we will do is we'll just go to the SQL editor, and I'll just remove everything. So firstly, we'll have to create a table. Alright, so here you can see I have just written one query. So here you can name your table whatever you feel like. I'll just name it as users, and it has an ID of primary key and one name. So I have kept things pretty simple. I don't want any other fields, but if you want, you can add other fields as well. So I'll just run this particular command. Now some of you might be wondering, okay, so what is the error? Error at syntax varchar. Should I just make this as text? I guess I think text should work. Yeah, so again, this is just a hobby project, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, that's what I have created. And if like some of you might be wondering, I'm using Sequelize, so Sequelize can automatically create our tables for us. I think that is a bad practice. That's why I try to avoid it. I know there is a method called sync or synchronize, something like that, but I don't like using that. Now if I go to tables, we should see our tables. Hopefully now, okay, here is our table and it is empty for to begin with. Next we need to install few dependencies. So inside our Next.js application, here you can see I will install this pg-hstore as well as Sequelize. So I'll just install all these three dependencies. Now also I'm using TypeScript inside my Next.js application. So inside our we also need to install this particular dependencies. So I'll just copy this, again cd to your Next.js application, and you just have to do npm install -d. So these are dev dependencies, so types for pg as well as types for Sequelize. And again I'll just press enter, and hopefully it should, yeah, it has downloaded all the dependencies for us. Now let's get writing with the code. Alright, so first thing which we will have to do, just go to src, and here inside the src folder I will create a lib folder. Inside that I will just name it as sequelize.ts. feel free to, not dequalize, Sequelize, you feel free to name it whatever you feel like, and I'll just paste some code. Now again I'll just remove this code. This is not useful. So firstly what I'm doing is that I'm importing Sequelize from our Sequelize um, uh, what do you call it, the package which we have installed. Then here I'm also installing pg from pg, and then here I create this Sequelize variable. I will just name it as db. I think I don't want to get it confused with that Sequelized package which we have. Then here I create one variable, then here I create a method called initialize database. So I'm first checking whether this variable is initialized or not. If it is not initialized, then only initialize it. Here we will have to pass our postgres url. So for neondb it is pretty simple. Just go to dashboard and I will just copy this snippet and I'll paste it over here. So here you can see it has done it for us. Then the dialect module is pg, logging I have kept it as false, and here is our get database instance. So if Sequelize is not initialized, then I throw an error. If it is initialized, then I just require Sequelize, and here you can see I just call initialize database over here. I mean it depends on you where you want to call it. I just call it over here, but yeah, it's up to you. And here we just return our get database instance as well. So this is done. The next thing is we have to create our route handler, right? So for that, go to src, go to api, and here I will create a folder called users. You can name it whatever you feel like, but yeah, I'll just name it as users. Okay, so the next thing is we just have to go to users, and here I will just create one folder called route.ts. Now be careful with this API users. It should be present inside the src folder and not inside the app folder, because I made a mistake a lot of time creating this API folder inside the app folder. The API folder should be in the src folder. Now here inside route we will have to create get and post API endpoint, but before that we will be creating a model for Sequelize, because our table has an ID as well as a name, right? So we will be creating a model for that, and that we will be using inside route.ts. So here you can go to src. Again we'll create one file called model, and it will have file name as user.ts. Okay, so I have written down all the code. Now what I'll do is I'll just change the file name to users.ts. That makes more sense. And here you can see I'm firstly importing data types as well as model from Sequelize. I'm also getting our get database instance from libdb. Now I don't think this is necessary, because okay, now this is necessary. We are initializing the database, but here we are getting the database instance. Sorry, my bad. So here we require the get database instance, and here I just create one user which extends a model. It has a name as well as an ID, but if you have more fields you can add that as well. And here we just do users.init, pass our ID, data type is integer, auto increment is true, primary key is true, allow null is false, and here also I have kept it type as data type of string, allow nulls as false. Here we pass our Sequelize. This is my model name which I have defined over here. Now this should match your table name, so make sure you don't do any mistakes over here. Timestamp I have kept it as false, and here I have just exported our users. Okay, so this is done as well. Alright, so the last step according to me is just go to route.ts, and here I have created two methods. One is the get endpoint and second is the post endpoint. Again you have to name it the same way, you can't write your own method name. And here inside get, all I'm doing is that I'm getting hold of our users table, finding everything out of it and just returning as a JSON. And inside our post I'm just getting name, because we need to pass at least the name. That's the mandatory field from our request. Once I have the name I just create a name, and here again I return the response back. Now you just have to run your application npm run dev. You can call this API endpoint from your NextJS application as well. So if you create any React component inside the app folder, you can call it from there. But just for simplicity's sake, again I will be using Postman. If you want to call it from code, you can do that as well. Now here you can see our app is hosted on localhost 3000, and the API endpoint was /API/user, right? Because it is users. Okay, so I will have to make s over here, and let's see, I will try to submit this particular name. Let's see if it works or not. Okay, I'm getting an error. Let's try to fetch it as well. Let's see if it works. Okay, I'm getting an error. I think this could be because the DB is not initialized. Okay, Okay, I think I'm getting it because okay, here I made a mistake. So something like this. Okay, it is still throwing me an error. 404/API HTTP. What I'll do is I'll just open this inside a browser. Okay, so the mistake which I did was, it was a classic mistake which I do it all the time. This API folder should be present inside the app folder, not inside the src folder. So I'll just move it inside our app folder. Hopefully now it works. Yeah, it has reinitialized everything. Okay, let me go to our post endpoint. I'll just click on send, and here you can see record was added. If I do the get endpoint, and here you can see record was added as well. So yeah, that's about it. If I just do nobody 123, here you can see, and if I do a get, okay, I'm able to. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.